Storytime the most. I never thought I would be afraid of someone I love, but here we are. I, 24, female, live with my mom, and my stepfather. I mean, he's technically my stepfather, but he's been in my life since I was around 4. For as long as I could remember, I had always had these weird dreams about camping trips with my stepfather. Every time I had one of these dreams, I would wake up sweaty, panicked, and feeling alone. I knew they were dreams, but they always felt weird, because there was so much detail. I never thought much of it and I just brushed them off as weird dreams. That is until one day I was talking to my mom, and she said something that made me rethink everything. We were sitting looking at pictures when we came across a picture of me holding a fish. Fear shot through my body as I saw myself wearing the same jacket I always saw in my dreams. I asked my mom what the picture was from, and I could see all over her face that something was wrong. She said she was surprised I didn't remember, and then she told me the story that made me sick to my stomach. Apparently I used to go on camping trips with my stepfather all of the time until it ended in tragedy. The last time I went on a camping trip with my stepfather, I called my mom in the middle of the night screaming. She sent the police to where I was, and they found me there alone. But I remembered something while my mom was telling me the story. I wasn't screaming and crying because I was alone. I was screaming and crying because I saw a girl underneath plastic in the back of my stepfather's truck. I remembered trying to shake her awake, but instead her head rolled back, and she was staring at me with dead, empty eyes. My stepfather still goes on camping trips, and I choose to believe he's just fishing. It's the lie I tell myself the most. Storytime swing. Growing up has never been easy for me. I live in a town that's pretty poor, and everyone that lives here has a rough time just surviving. It used to be bearable because I had Vanessa. We were best friends since kindergarten, and we've been through almost everything together. Before we left high school we met this guy on Discord, and I thought he was harmless, but now I'm not so sure. Me and Vanessa both wanted out of our situations, and I think he knew that and used it against us. He talked to me sometimes, but he always seemed more interested in Vanessa. Not to sound rude, but I was always smarter than Vanessa, so I never responded the way he wanted. He was always telling us we could go live with him, and he'd pay for our bus tickets. I knew I wanted to move, but I didn't know anything about him, so I always made it clear that I wouldn't be doing that. And I thought Vanessa was doing the same, but then she started talking to him alone, and being really sneaky. One day, out of nowhere, she tells me she's leaving, and shows me a bus ticket to a couple of towns over. I thought it was really weird because the Discord guy said he lived in a completely different state. But Vanessa didn't see anything wrong with it and we fought. I still feel guilty about that. Anyway, nothing I said would make her stay, so the next day she left. And didn't even say goodbye. I tried talking to the Discord guy again, and what I found made my stomach drop. It was like he never existed. Every past private chat was gone, and I couldn't find him anywhere. I just had to hope that Vanessa was fine. But here's where things get even weirder. It's been 2 years since this all happened, and I went on a date with this guy. He found me on Discord, but we realized pretty quickly that he only lived about 2 towns over. I was at his place when he stepped outside to take a phone call, and I got bored. I started to look around, and I saw this little glass jar with something inside of it, so I opened it. What I found inside made the hairs on the back of my neck stand up. The jar was full of teeth. 22 full-size teeth with roots still attached, and one of them was chipped. I still remember the day Vanessa fell off the swing. Storytime name. From elementary school up until middle school I had 2 friends, Ruby and Ella. The 3 of us really were best friends, or so I thought. We all got along, pretty much did everything together, and we were inseparable. That is until one of us went missing. We were all supposed to meet up at Ella's house one night, but I got there before Ruby, which was weird. Me and Ella just decided we'd wait a little bit to see if she showed up. This was before cell phones, so we couldn't just call her or track her location. After an hour of waiting, Ella called Ruby's mom, and to our horror she said Ruby left hours ago. The police were called. We searched for Ruby for months, but we never found her. I think after that my parents just didn't feel safe, so we ended up moving. Ella was devastated, and honestly so was I, but as time went on we lost touch. Fast forward years later, and I got into my dream college, which happened to be about 20 minutes from my old hometown. I thought it would be a good trip down memory lane, even though everything was such a mess when we moved. I walk into the coffee shop, and who do I see? Ella. At first I was so excited to see her, and we sat down, had coffees, and just caught up. We laughed a lot and I couldn't wait to make plans to hang out with her again. We set a date, and as we were hugging to say goodbye she said something that I wasn't expecting. In a flat, emotionless tone she said, "I've been waiting a long time for this." I don't know if it was the way she said it or her unmoving eye contact, but I could sense there was more to it. The day came that we were supposed to get together, and I went back and forth with myself about going. I felt really weird about going, but eventually I told myself I was being ridiculous. When I got there I really thought I had been wrong, but I was about to find out the truth was so much much worse than I thought. Ella got an unexpected work call and had to leave for a bit, so I was in her house for about 15 minutes by myself. I was just sitting there watching TV when I started to hear something thumping. I followed the sound to her room, and I could tell it was coming from her closet. When I opened the door, nothing could have prepared me for what was staring back at me. Frames with names hung on the wall, and in each frame was a cut lock of hair and some other keepsake, and on the floor was a locked box which continued to thump. I couldn't wrap my brain around it at first, but then I started reading the names, and there in black and white was Ruby, along with a lock of her curly red hair and her student ID. I started to back away in absolute shock and horror, but then I saw something that made me forget all about the thumping coming from the box and made me run out of there and never talk to Ella again. A frame with a lock of hair and no keepsake. A frame that was labeled with my name. Storytime, her face. Has anyone ever been in a situation where someone wants to friends with you but you're really just not into it? That's pretty much what I'm going through, except the girl trying to get me to be her friend is actually insane. I'll just call her Lizzie for this. A little backstory: I have a group of friends. I wasn't looking for new friends, but I got stuck showing the new girl around for her first week, and now I can't get rid of her. Not only that, but she is actually ruining my life. Lizzie seems super normal. I showed her around, she sat with me at lunch, but it was only supposed to be like that for 1 week. Over and over she kept telling me how pretty I was, or how shiny my hair was, and how white my teeth were. It was weird. We didn't have any classes together, and even though she was nice, I couldn't wait to get rid of her. Something about her just gave me the creeps. Sure enough, she proves me right. I walk into class Monday morning to find her in the room smiling at me like I should be so happy to see her. I tried sitting on the other side of the room, but she just followed me. I thought it would just be homeroom we had together, but no, this girl switched her entire schedule to have every single class with me. The really creepy thing is I never even told her my schedule, so how? She even kept sitting with me at lunch even though I tried sitting at different tables and dropping hints that I didn't want to sit with her. So far she just seems like a lonely new kid, right? Wrong. Remember I said Lizzie is actually ruining my life? This whole thing is so messed up I wouldn't believe it if it wasn't happening to me. The final thing that really sent me over the edge happened a couple of days ago, but now I wish I never met this girl. I never told Lizzie my address, but she shows up at my house one night. I was completely over her BS, and I told her I was done. I told her not to talk to me, not to sit with me, and to never show up at my house again. Lizzie looked me right in the eye, and everything about her face changed somehow. I realized I was seeing who she was for the first time, and it terrified me. The next day at school, Lizzie had bruises and marks all over her face. Even though I didn't like her, I would never want her to be hurt. I started walking towards in complete shock when my teacher and a member of security stepped in front of me. After they took me out of the class, they explained that Lizzie told them everything. I just stood there looking stupid while they told me Lizzie said I did that to her face. Storytime ringing. My family has owned and run the local morgue for the last 4 generations. I know it might seem weird, but I've been in and out of the morgue my whole life, so it's pretty normal to be around death for me. My dad has been training me to do this since I could walk, and up until a week ago, I couldn't wait to take my place in the family business, but something happened that I just can't shake.